Good morning. My name is Bill Spencer. We're going to get started in just a minute. I would encourage you to please mute your audio, and if you have not yet done it yet, please install Teams from http://aka.ms/get Teams, or find it from your device store. We have a great device application on iOS and Android, the Apple Store and the Android stores. And I recommend that you open Teams on your laptop so you can follow along as we go through the session. And if at any point you have a problem with the session, try exiting and rejoining. That typically takes care of the problem. I'll be sending out a recording of this session, and please encourage your colleagues to either view the recording or join future sessions. So as I mentioned, my name is Bill Spencer. I work on strategic customers for Microsoft Teams, and today I'm joined by Sam and Spencer from our partner AvePoint, and we're going to be talking about Teams as the hub for teamwork in Office 365, specifically with our recent support for government community cloud. So Teams with GCC support is the topic today. So you may be asking, why do I need another collaboration tool in Office 365? I have Outlook, I have Skype for Business, I have Yammer. Why Teams? Well, the reason is that there is a significant change in the way people are getting their work done. There is really enabled by technology the ability for people to work from anywhere, that they have an internet connection, and you have a greater need for collaboration inside and outside your organization. So Teams is really designed for the way we work now. It's designed for great mobile support. It's designed for bringing the whole team together as if everyone was in the same conference room talking about a project together. And now that Teams has been out for coming out 16 months now, we are seeing tremendous adoption of Teams. Not only 200,000 organizations around the world are using it in 39 different languages, but also here in the United States, in the government cloud, we have over 1,000 different state, local, federal organizations that are using Teams. And we're hearing great things about how it can be used for addressing security, addressing emergency management, all sorts of projects that may include constituents outside the organization, partners and customers and vendors outside the organization as well as in. So what's really great about Teams is that it's designed as a cross-platform product. It's written as a web application, and then we've wrapped that web application for the Windows and Mac desktops. So Teams ships the same features on Mac, Windows, and the web. And then we have companion applications on iOS and Android, especially on the iPad. It's a great way of staying on top of your collaborations no matter where you are, who you're collaborating with at any time. So these are the 4 design goals for Teams. We designed it so that it would be the one place that pulled together all of your team communication and collaboration activity. So chat, applications, and meetings are all in one place. It's integrated with Office 365, so you can pull in Word, PowerPoint, and Excel documents and make them part of your application. It's customizable and extensible. So there's a number of third-party applications, and soon those will be available in the GCC version of Teams. And then it's based on enterprise security and compliance. So Teams is written for the security needs of today. It has the data encrypted at rest, and the data is encrypted over the wire. So you can be sure that your collaborations will be kept confidential. And you can include people outside your organization and keep them in a secure environment. So you can apply double-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication even to people coming in from outside of your organization. And the the security of Teams itself can be managed centrally by the IT department. Teams supports the EU model clauses, GDPR, HIPAA, FERPA, and the relevant ISO and SOC standards. So it's really the most secure group collaboration tool, and today it supports the government community cloud as well. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Sam, who will take over the desktop and show us his version of Teams. And I'm just going to guide Sam through the most basic features of Teams. Great, thank you. So, Sam, I appreciate you volunteering to walk through this with me. And Spencer will work in the background, and we'll show the features together. So we have three major areas in Teams, and let's just go through those from left to right, and then we'll go from top to bottom. So the first major area is this dark purple column on the far left. That is the app bar, and we can see a number of applications there: Activity, Chat, Teams, Meetings, and Files. And you can think of Activity as the inbox for Teams. Chat is a way to communicate on an ad hoc basis with as many as 20 of your colleagues. Teams is the centerpiece of Teams, and this is the group chat environment that can be customized around each project that you're working on. Meetings is a view into your Outlook calendar, and it includes all of the the meetings on your calendar, and you can join either Teams meetings or Skype for Business meetings directly from the Meetings app. And then Files is a view on all the documents that you're sharing, whether it's in chat or in the channels or chat rooms that are in Teams. So when you click on one of the apps, it then populates this white column. And Sam, if you could just click on Teams, I just want to show people the variation here. Great. So we have two teams that are showing up in the white column, which is called the left rail. And one's called Emergency Response, and the other is called Public Safety. So we have a number of chat rooms or channels beneath each one of those teams. And you can tell a team because it has that icon on the far left. And there's always the ... on the right as well. That is the way to distinguish a team. And think of a team as just a distribution list for for group chat. So it's just like an email distribution list. It's a collection of people. A team can be up to 2,500 people in size. And then beneath that team header, so emergency response is one team, public safety is another team. Immediately beneath that is a general channel that's created by default when you create a new team. And then there's a number of other topics or projects that the team is collaborating on, and those are these individual channels. Now, if there's a channel that has new information since the last time you read it, it will be in bold, and you can see budget and upgrade project are in bold. And then the ones that you're fully read up on, those are in regular font. You can see that under emergency response, there's an additional channel that Sam has not chosen as a favorite. And each of you, each member of Teams can customize these channels to meet their needs in terms of showing which ones they set as their default or favorites and which ones are put into this more bucket. So for example, if Sam wanted to, he could hover on the right side of where it says budget, So if you hover on the right side of the left rail, there's a dot, dot, dot there. And choosing that, you can unfavorite budget. So click on that, and thank you, and click on remove favorite. And then going back to where it says more channels, you can click on that, and you can put the star, and you can add budget, and you can add corrections if you'd like. By clicking on the star on the far right. There you go, you've added corrections. Perfect. So you can customize your view of the channels, and you can also move the teams around. So Sam, click on public safety and drag it up above emergency response. Exactly, just like that. Yep. Oh, let's try that one more time. There we go. Okay, perfect. So you can set the order, and you can also expand and collapse these. So for example, if you click on the little caret that shows up on the far right side of these channels, you can collapse them. And sometimes it's easier to collapse them in order to move them around. All right, perfect. So that's the left rail, and at the bottom of the left rail is the option to join or create a team, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And now let's talk about the light brown area, light gray area on the far right. This is called the main arena, and we'll go from top to bottom on this. So at the very top, there's a search box, and this is a great way of finding information in Teams. So let's click on the search box and put in the word budget. Okay, I think I just lost Sam. Is that possible? Spencer, are you there?
Yeah, Sam's screen just went dark.
We'll give him a minute to rejoin.
It looks like he's trying to reload his desktop now. All right, yep, he's back.
Okay, there we go. Great. Thanks, Sam. So, Sam, could you click on the top where it says search and then put in the word budget? And hit return? And you'll notice a couple things. One is he typed in the word budget. Because that's the name of one of the channels, it showed that as an option. But also here in the left rail now, we have search results, including all the various messages that include the word budget. If there's any people that had budget in their name, that would show up. But let's click on files, and you can see files that include the word budget as well. Oh, there aren't any. Okay. Let's click back on messages and choose one of those messages. Perfect. And why don't we click on the one just below there. Let's click on the one that's dated 9/6 so we get back into a channel view. Excellent. Okay, great. So we talked about the white box at the top. That's the search box. Immediately beneath that is called the navigation bar. And we have the name of the team, emergency response, and the name of the channel, which is called general. And then we have a notice here that this team has guests. So there's guests included in the team, and that's a notice that you might want to pay attention to depending on what you're communicating. And it's easy to see who the guests are by just clicking on where it says this team has guests. So if you click on that, you can see who the guests are, and you'll notice their name has guests after it in parentheses. And then why don't we click on the back arrow to get back into that view. Up at the top in the upper left corner, there's an arrow, just like in the browser where you can go back. Actually, you can use the browser arrow in this case. You're showing this in the browser, right? Perfect. So that's where it is. I find the back and forward arrows a great way of navigating when you're in the browser mode. And in the desktop, there are arrows in roughly the same place. So then beneath that is the, beneath where it says this team has guests, is the tab line. And you can see there's a number of tabs that have been added to this project. But the default view is the Conversations tab. And in the Conversations tab, you can see that this is a threaded conversation. So we have one thread about this is the CDCR team. The next thread is a welcome message. And then beneath that is a third message. You can respond to an individual message. And so choosing just the first one, why don't we click where it says reply. And we can add in, thank you for adding me, or something along those lines as a quick response. And hit return. And that posts the message. There's also, so that each of these threads has the option of replying to it and adding to the thread. And I typically, before I post, I'll see if there's an existing thread by doing a search or a quick scroll to scan, and try to keep related topics together. But on the bottom, I can start my own conversation, and we'll give an example of that as we create a new team. All right, so let's get out of this view and click back on the Teams view. We're still kind of in a search result. Clicking on Teams, exactly, thank you. Now, down at the bottom, it says Join or Create a Team. So let's click on that. And you'll see that you have the option of joining a guest access test team or to create your own team. So this list will include public teams, and we'll create one of those ourselves. Let's click on Create Team. And let's call this the Training 19 team. Or just call it Training 19, actually. Let's not use the word team. Perfect. And you'll notice that you can put in a description, which is a good idea. You have two options for how you create the team, private or public. Let's choose public so that anyone could join our training team. And you'll notice that you could create this team using an existing team as a template, which is a great suggestion. If you have, for example, someone on your organization who's done a wonderful job around project management, and they've created a team that is a good template for future projects, then you could create your team based on that other team as a template. But let's not do that. Let's create a new one, clicking on the word Next in the right side. And a best practice is not only to add people to a team, but to add an additional owner to a team. So let's add Spencer to this team. Click Add. And let's promote him from a member to an owner using that caret on the right side. Exactly. And we can click Close. So now we have our new team, and you'll notice it's been added to the left rail. So now we have 3 teams. And there's these 3 helpful buttons in the middle of the team to add more people, to create more channels, to open the FAQ. And we'll take advantage of one of those in just a moment. But let's start a new conversation here. I like to, when I start a new conversation, I like to use a more formal version of the Compose box, that white box at the bottom. And to access that, I click on the A with the pen just below the word Start, and that expands from a Compose box to the Compose form. And this gives us additional formatting options as well as a subject line. So especially when you're starting a new thread, sometimes it makes it easier to read if you've got a subject line. So let's add the subject line, Welcome to the training team. Excellent. Thank you, Sam. And then beneath that, let's click where it says start a new conversation. And I think a best practice is to always do an at mention when you start a new conversation. So let's start out by saying do at sign and then start to type Spencer's name, and you can see it automatically populates, and you can hit return. I like to backspace over the person's last name just to make it a little less formal. So Spencer, comma, and then there's a few other options for at mentions. These are kind of a bit lazier approach, but they are helpful for getting the ball going. So let's do at sign and start to type the word team, and it will fill in the name of this team, which is called Training 19. So let's hit return on that. So we've added the whole team here, comma, and let's put in at sign and then start to type the word channel, and it will fill in the name of the channel, which is the general channel. So what's nice is if you've got maybe not your general channel, but one of your subsidiary, your smaller channels, it will at mention everyone who has favorited that channel. Okay, and then you can click dash and then type. We're going to use this team to organize our training. Perfect. Okay. So, and you can hit return. Now, hitting return, you'll notice when you're in the compose form, it doesn't actually send the message. It gives you a carriage return. So again, it's helpful for composing a message to use this approach. And there's some helpful ways of sort of making the message stand out more down at the bottom. So notice down at the bottom there is, for example, the square smiley face. Let's put on the square smiley face. Actually, there's a square one right next to the camera. There we go. And I like that little boy on the beach. I want to grab that one. Now these are examples of stickers. So you can, let's make the top caption training, and maybe the bottom caption, yeah, or something like that with an exclamation mark. There we go. Okay, and click done. That's good. And now in order to send this message, what you want to do is click on the lower right where that airplane icon is, and that sends the message. Perfect. Now, Spencer, if you could reply to Sam's message and use an at mention, that would be helpful. Now you'll notice now that he sent the message, there is an at sign, or excuse me, there's a badge in the upper right, and that is showing a team or a channel at mention. And since Sam is on the team, he's getting that. Oh, thank you. So you'll also notice that that Spencer just hit the like button there, and he gave it a thumbs up, and we'll show in a minute how to do that. Perfect. So now we've got Spencer's response, and you'll notice that Sam's name is in bold and red, and there is a badge on the right side that's an individual at mention. So it's really easy to find where you've been at mentioned because a few things. Notice up in activity that there is a 1 next to his activity. So his activity app is telling him that he's been mentioned at least once, and then you'll also, when you click on that, you can see where that mention was, and you can go right to that message, and looking on the right side, you can find your at mention. Now, I can't emphasize enough how important it is when you're using Teams to use at mentions effectively. because you don't want each one of your channels to become an inbox that you feel like you've got to read in order to stay on top of your communications. Instead, the burden is on the person sending the message to use an individual @mention. I recommend individual @mentions, and then to have that activity app light up, and for people to find in which channel they were individually @mentioned. Now, if you do this effectively, it saves a tremendous amount of time. I feel I save at least an hour a day because so many of my projects now are running in teams, and I go to my activity app. Often I'm doing that on my mobile device, say between meetings, sometimes during meetings, and I check to see where I've been @mentioned, and I can quickly catch up on the most important activity and quickly drill in on it. So let's give Spencer a like, and to do that, I just hover on the right side there, and I can give it a thumbs up. Now let's do something else here. Let's create a new channel. So let's create a channel, and click. Why don't we do it by clicking on that blue icon kind of in the middle? Maybe it's green. I'm a little colorblind. Excuse me. Yeah, click on where it says Create More Channels. Clicking on that, and let's add a channel called Budget. And let's click Add. So we've created this new budget channel. Let's do an @mention. Clicking on the let's make budget a favorite. Great, and then clicking on the budget channel. Let's start a new conversation, and let's @mention. You don't have to do the compose form. You can. Well, that's fine. Let's make the subject training budget. Perfect. Start a new conversation by saying @Spencer. Good. Backspace over his last name, comma. Please review and approve my proposed budget. And you might want to do just an FYI and then @mention Sarah. Oh, we haven't added Sarah. Okay, that's easy to do. Let's backspace. Hold on just a sec. Let's add Sarah to the team. To do that, let's go back to the general channel and click on Add More People. And let's add Sarah. And we can just add her as a member. So we can go ahead and click Close. Perfect. Now you'll notice we can go back to our budget channel, and this message has been saved. I wouldn't compose, something really long and then leave it. You can always hit things, and you can send them and then edit them. We'll show that in a minute. But for short messages like this, yeah, you can take the risk. It's generally going to be saved. So he @mentioned Sarah. You notice how quickly that was mentioned Sarah. And now let's click on the paperclip icon that's right next to our A and pen icon in the bottom line there. And let's upload from the computer and find our project budget, so we can propose that to Spencer for his approval. Perfect. Great. And now we can hit the paper airplane icon in the lower right to send this. Excellent. Now let's show how you might want to edit this. Let's click on the edit, and to do that, hover in the upper right corner of the message. Now you'll notice there are these dots, and they're generally on the right side, and you generally have to hover on them to see them. Let's go to the one for the message, and there we go. And we're going to click on the and you can see the options here are to edit, to delete, to mark as unread, to copy a link. Let's click on Edit and choose to let's make this important. Click on the exclamation mark on the top side, and you'll notice some of these formatting options. So you can make the font bold, you can italicize, you can underline, you can highlight, you can change the font color. The two open and close parentheses is for coding, and then paragraph is for formatting. But let's click on this so we can see what this looks like. And you'll notice that when you click on the exclamation mark, it adds an important, in bold and red, text across the top. And then, so go ahead and hit send. And this will incorporate your edits. And you can see it's got that red line on the left side and the badge on the upper right of the exclamation mark. Perfect. And let's add another channel. And to do that, let's click on the ... in the left rail next to training 19. So right on our team header. Let's pause just a second to look at all the options. These are all the options in the more dialog for a team. You can remove this team as a favorite. You can manage the team, add a channel, add members, leave the team, edit the team, get a link to the team, delete the team. Let's choose Add Channel. And a good best practice, particularly when you're getting started, is to add a channel for urgent items or for escalations. And I like to put a number in front of this in order to put this at the top of the list. So let's put 1-urgent as the name of the channel. Excellent. And let's automatically favorite this channel for everyone on the team. So if people join the team later, this team will be one of their favorites. Oop, I don't know what happened there. There we go. And then click Add. Yeah. Excellent. Thanks, Sam. Okay, so now we've got the urgent channel. And let's go back to our general channel, and we'll put a post explaining the urgent channel to everyone on the team. So to do this, let's start a new conversation with the A and the pen below the word start. There we go. And just say at urgent channel as the subject line. No, I'm sorry, as a subject line, just call it. You don't have to do an @ sign, just urgent channel as the subject line. Excellent. And then let's do @ sign Sam and Sarah. Oh, excuse me, we could do it for Spencer and Sarah. There we go. Please favorite, or please follow, I'm sorry, please follow the urgent channel. Excellent. Now let's show people how to follow a channel. Notice that urgent channel is not one of your favorites, so let's go over to the left rail and make this one of your favorites. Click on that and add urgent as a star there. Perfect. Now let's click on the urgent channel, hover on the left side there, exactly the right side, no, hover on the right side to the more options. And these are the channel level options, which are similar to teams, so sometimes it's a little confusing, but a channel, you have to hover in order for that to come up. Clicking on that, we can remove this as a favorite, we can edit this channel, get an email address for the channel, get a link to the channel, delete this channel, follow this channel. So let's go and follow the channel. That's how we follow the channel. And that means every time something's posted there, we are going to get a message in our activity app. So we're following it. Now let's go back to the channel one more time. Actually, let's click on it. Let's click on the channel because I want to show another way to access that menu. you can access it by going to the dot 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 at the top of the in the navigation bar. There we go. You'll notice it's the same menu pretty much. This time it says unfollow this channel because you're following it. Let's get a link to the channel. Great. And copy that to your clipboard. Perfect. And now let's go back to where we were posting in general, continue our message, and let's select the word urgent channel. Excellent. And using the link, the two links of the chain, we can insert the link, and click on insert. And what I like to do is, you can see that that's changed in font, but I like to highlight this a little bit more to make it obvious it's clickable. So selecting urgent channel, again, we can click on the A with the underline. Or click, no, I'm sorry, not the A with the pen. Oops. Click on the, let's click on the B with the bold. That's fine. And then we can click on the U with the underline. And then the A with the underline. And that changes the font color. And let's make it one of the blues, whichever one you would like. Great. And then, whenever I sort of ask people to do something, I often like to make it a little bit more fun. Let's click on the Giphy at the bottom there, the GIF icon, and add a GIF. Search for the word thank you. And choose whichever one of those appeal to you. All right, there you go. All right, so let's click the paper airplane icon, and we've set the message. Okay, so let's just do a quick recap on what we've shown so far. We've shown the three major regions of teams from left to right: the app bar, the left rail, and the main arena. We've shown how in the main arena, in channels, you have different threads, and how you can either respond to an existing thread by hitting the reply box immediately beneath the conversation, or start a new thread by going to the reply box at the bottom, the compose box at the bottom, and how to expand the compose box, and how to make effective messages that stand out. We've shown how to create a new team, how to add channels to that team so you can talk about different projects or aspects of the projects like the budget. So now let's talk about how to customize one of these channels. So the way to think about a channel, it's like a chat room, but it's like a conference room, a virtual conference room. And if you're in a conference room, you could customize it with if you're in a conference room and there are whiteboards along the side, and you had the whole project team together, typically as you go through the conversation about the project, someone will get up to the whiteboard and they'll say, well, what are the key decisions we need to make? And they'll write down that list. And perhaps someone else will start, charting out a timeline with milestones. Someone else might be, talking about the action items and who is going to do what. So each one of those things, each one of those aspects that you put up on the whiteboard, you could think about as the tabs across the top. So I think the general channel is a good place for announcements, and you'll notice that we have anytime someone adds someone to the team or adds a channel to the team, and this includes deletions and people leaving the team, but that log is kept in the general channel. So the general channel is a place to start, and it's also a place where all the changes that go on in the team are in a sense recorded and made obvious to the team. But the individual channels beyond the general channel, or where we're talking about specific topics or projects. So let's go to budget, and clicking on the budget channel, we can customize this so it's a more effective way to talk about the budget. So you'll see that we attached a file, the project budget, and you could think of this as just like an attachment in an email, but it's actually a lot more convenient in Teams to work with files, because instead of having the items, the files attached to individual messages, you can find all of the attachments in the Files tab. So the Files tab, clicking on the Files tab, is a great place to manage information, to manage documents, and it's just a view into SharePoint. In fact, if you wanted to, you could open this view in SharePoint by clicking on Open in SharePoint, but we don't need to do that now. You can play with that yourself. But anytime you attach something into the general into the conversation thread, it is saved right here in the SharePoint view. And you'll see that each document, just like in SharePoint, has a More menu. So the ... Now this is on the far right, right beneath the circle there. And clicking on that, we can see all the options for a file. So we can edit this file in Teams, open it in their native application, Excel, open in SharePoint, move, copy, download, delete, rename, get a link. All those things are the standard things that you see in SharePoint. But the thing that Teams adds is the option to make this a tab. So let's click on Make This a Tab, and it's promoting this document to one that's sort of like you're adding it to the whiteboard of your shared conference room for your project. And what's great about this is you can have this conversation anywhere, any place, because these same tabs show up on your mobile version of Teams. So when you install Teams on your iOS or Android device, you can look at the documents, you can open them and view them. So let's do this, Sam. Let's click on the two arrows in the upper right, and this expands our view so that it takes up the left rail. So it's taking the main arena and popping it out, which is great. And we can start a conversation by clicking on the little chat icon right next to the two arrows you just clicked on. And we can start the conversation and ask a question of Sarah. So we can say, @Sarah, comma, see item 12. Is that enough for legal? Perfect, and then hit send. And Sam, why don't you reply to that? I know it was an @mention for Sarah, but you can reply to that. Now, in this view, you'll see that this conversation is here on the side. And what's nice is I don't have to go into Excel in order to have a collaboration with this. I'm not making a comment in Excel. I'm making a conversation alongside this tab. Clicking on the back arrow in the upper right, I can go back into my view. Oh, excuse me, the upper left. My apologies, upper left. I can go back into my view of the conversation. Click on the conversation, and you can see that this conversation is saved right here inside the Conversations tab as well. So I don't need to go through all of the various tabs in order to capture this. I also can rename some of these tabs. So for example, I mentioned earlier that often you want to capture decisions. Well, Wiki is a great place to do that. So let's click on the Wiki tab. And there's a caret there right next to the word Wiki. Let's click on that and change this to decisions. Perfect. And click Save. And so now I've got a Decisions tab. We've got a project budget. Let's click on the plus sign and see our other options for customizing our channel. And we've got several here. Let's click on PowerPoint. And let's change this to timeline. And why don't we search in, let's see, you're currently in this view. Let's pop out the of budget. And okay, so now we're, yeah, I'm sorry, click back. There's an easier way to do this. Let's do it the easier way. Let's close out of this and going into the Files tab. It's the way I typically do it. Upload, click on Upload, and upload the project timeline. There we go. Yeah, it's a lot easier to pull it in directly from this view. And then we can promote this to being a tab as well. So click on the ... on the far right and make this a tab. Perfect. Okay. Oh, we lost Sam again. Interesting. I assume he's going to join momentarily. But the key thing with the customization of the tabs is that you can quickly find any document that's attached anywhere in the conversation thread, and you can also take individual files and add them to the Files tab directly, just like it's a SharePoint share, and then you can promote some of them to being tabs. And at Microsoft, we often have meetings where we will go to the relevant team and the relevant channel and then just walk through the tabs and talk about the aspects of the project. So you could talk about the timeline. You can click on the budget and talk about the budget. As you make decisions, you can capture those notes in your Decisions tab as well. So it's a great way to pull all the information together into one place, and each one of these channels becomes, in a way, the single source of truth for any particular project. If new people join the project later, you don't have to forward them email messages. You don't have to share with them the secret SharePoint URL that can be, cumbersome. Instead, you just invite them to the team, and they can find all the information they want by using the search box, by reading through previous history, by seeing, for example, that Sarah's involved with the legal line item, that Spencer was reviewing and approving the budget, and they have all that context, in a sense, a group memory of what's going on in the team. Okay, so we've talked about channels at some depth. Now let's talk about chat. So clicking on the chat app in the app bar, in some ways it looks exactly like Teams, but there's a few differences. One important difference is that you don't have the option of adding additional channels. You don't have the option of adding additional tabs. And we'll just wait for Sam to come back so I can talk about this point. You'll also notice that the conversations are not threaded in chat. So there is just a single thread and a response. Now, when you've got a group of people in a chat, you can have individual chats, you can have more than that, you can have up to 20 people involved in a chat. And when you do that, you can set up these group chats and you can name them. So notice the little pen next to Spencer's name in the top. Clicking on that pen, we can name this the leads for training. And this is sort of a best practice, is to have the name of a team and then to have a chat associated with it for the leads. And let's click on the little star to make this one of the favorites. So you can quickly find at the top of your list your leads for the training team, and then when you click on your teams, you can see the related team name, and that way you can always have sort of a private channel, private chat room just for the leads to talk about that particular team. But just like attaching in channels, you can attach files. The only difference is the files are saved in your OneDrive for Business and then shared with the other participants in the chat. So if you need to find the files that you've shared in chat, you don't have to go through all of your chat conversations. You can just click on the Files tab. Click on the Files app, I should have said. So thank you for clicking on the Files tab. You can see those files. But I wanted to show where you can see all of the files that you have shared by clicking on Files and then clicking on OneDrive in the left rail. And you'll see that there is the Microsoft Teams chat files. So this is where all the files you have shared are saved. Great. Now let's just, in the last few minutes we have, let's talk about how you can customize Teams for your process. In the upper right corner, there's an SV, there's an icon, and you can customize that icon, by the way, with your picture. Let's click on that, and this is your profile. And we have a few things here. We have available, you've got your, where you can change your picture. You can set your status, so you can set yourself as do not disturb or busy or whatever. We'll talk about saved in a minute if we have time. Let's click on settings and do some quick customization here. Some people prefer the dark theme. You might like that. High contrast is our accessibility. Let's click on notifications. And you'll notice that you can get banners for various things. One thing that I think is important is that you have your email frequency. So currently, this is a feature that's coming so that when you haven't read your activity app for a while, you will get an email, and you can set how often that happens. Once every hour, you can maybe change that to once every 10 minutes if you really want to stay on top of your projects and teams. So clicking on email frequency, the second from the bottom, you can set that to once every 10 minutes. And if you go on vacation, you may want to set it to once a day so you don't get an inbox full of a lot of notifications. But that's a great way of customizing this. And then closing this, let's give an example of saved. So click on chat, click back into chat and the chat app, and let's click on the conversation with the leads for training, and let's put a reminder for ourselves, and I'll often do this while I'm on the move, to save this message. Great. Click on Save This Message. And you'll notice that the icon has in the upper right has gotten a saved icon next to it. Now let's go into Saved. And then we can click on Saved, and we can see that item in the left rail. So I really appreciate all of your attention. That's a quick overview, a quick introduction to Teams, and I look forward to hearing from you on any questions you might have. I'll be sending out a copy of this recording to all of the participants. If you have any questions, please follow up and ask them, and I'll respond as quickly as I can. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Spencer. Appreciate it. And I'm now going to stop the recording.